All right, back to the very serious and horrifying subject of Renee Good, who was shot dead in her car by an ICE agent. And we reviewed yesterday the footage and my argument for why this is murder and the lie after lie after lie that has been told by the Trump administration. And then doing this insane thing where they look at us and say, you need to stop expressing your opinions about how terrible you think this was or how in the wrong the ICE agent was because you're getting ahead of the investigation. But then they jump ahead of it and say, and also we know for certain this was self-defense. You can't have it both ways. And I don't know how to come to that conclusion with that level of certainty at this point. And then today, I won't go through the footage we watched yesterday again, but you can see it in the other segment if you do want to watch that breakdown. The New York Times did a really good breakdown from multiple angles, synced up, and it contradicts completely the Kristi Noem characterization that was deranged. Trump's, Vance's, and even Trump in that interview, you could tell was kind of, once he saw the video, seemingly unable to further substantiate what he had been saying and what he had posted, blaming Renee Good for her own death. And so this video was the latest one, and it was posted, and it's the video, if you'll take us down, Jaden, that the ICE agent took. And let me just really quickly, Jonathan Ross is the ICE agent's name. This was the one, he was holding his phone right before he dropped his phone to shoot Renee Good. And the reason I'm playing this for you is because a lot of right-wing accounts, including the rapid response accounts for the White House and all of Trump's biggest defenders, and I think Vance, were posting this as if to say this exonerates the ICE agent. But we'll watch for ourselves from this angle when I already think we've seen enough footage to know. And to me, this does anything but exonerate Jonathan Ross. So that's Renee Good, moments before she gets shot. And she says, "You're fine, dude. I'm not mad at you." As you can see her kind of moving around her car, seemingly getting prepared to drive away. Or at least move her car, which is what she was obviously trying to do when the ICE agents ran up and started pulling on her door. A reminder, I won't go through all the details because we did it so thoroughly yesterday for 45 minutes, but 37-year-old mother of three, American citizen, and her partner had gotten out of the car. That's who you'll see in a second here, confronting the ICE agent. She's still in the car and she says, "You're fine, dude. I'm not mad at you." How he perceives her as a threat after that kind of a statement, I don't know. I think it's impossible to come to that conclusion.
Fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. It's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come.
So this is her partner.
Come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking veteran. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
And then he drops his phone. And the response from MAGA, many of them, not all of them, was, "See, this proves he was in the right." But you see a profound calm from Renee Good, a little confrontation from her wife to the ICE agent, which is, so you can say, "Go get lunch," or whatever she said. That's totally within your right. And then as they say, "All right, now get out of the car," after previously being instructed to leave, she then tries to leave. And then, especially by the third shot, he's like way out of the way of the car and is still aiming for her head and killing her. But instead of being attached to the humanity of this and wanting to understand how accountability can take place here and then prevention of future incidents like this, and maybe coming to a conclusion about what this means about the culture of ICE in this moment under the Trump administration, tons of these hosts and Fox stars are making this about like, was the woman lesbian or had pronouns in her bio?
The woman who lost her life was a self-proclaimed poet from Colorado with pronouns in her bio. A 37-year-old white woman named Renee Good. The Daily Mail says she leaves behind a lesbian partner and a child from a previous marriage. She was a disruptor, though she considered herself a legal observer, but there's no evidence she had a law degree.
It's just insane. Like, what on earth was the possible need to say she has pronouns in her bio? Other than for people to go, okay, she's not on our team, cool. Okay, cool, yeah, so she's one of the weird wokesters. Okay, never mind. Oh, lesbian? Okay, no. Here's a statement from Becca Good, the wife of Renee Good. Renee leaves behind 3 extraordinary children. The youngest is just 6 years old and already lost his father. I'm now left to raise our son and to continue teaching him, as Renee believed that there are people building a better world for him. That the people who did this had fear and anger in their hearts, and we need to show them a better way. You can't think of a more gracious, heartfelt response than that. But while I will not overgeneralize, I just want to give you a sense of some of the gross stuff happening online. Attached a photo to this X post, some account, Alexander Augustine, or at Wurzel Root, said, I feel like I've been condescended to by a woman who looks exactly like this thousands of times. It's like, what? Again, it's kind of, if we can characterize her as a crazy lefty, then we won't have to care that she was so heinously killed. Look at her glove box. A bunch of stuffed animals. Obviously for her 6-year-old kid. And the ICE agent had time to walk all the way around her car, talk to her. She says, I'm not mad at you, dude. She starts trying to pull her car away. And he kind of from out of nowhere gets in front of the car. Then as she starts trying to pull and turn away, he's out of the way of the car shooting at her. Here's Jessica Tarlov on Fox bringing some moral clarity in a network that has very little of it right now.
So, Jesse, you just said this woman is in severe crisis. She was boxed in. If you watch the whole video...
No, she was boxed in.
That's what she was boxed in.
No, I said the team was boxed in.
Okay, the team was boxed in by... Once she moved over, she pulled to the side, and then she actually waves another ICE officer past her, right? So she's in such severe crisis that she can be polite in traffic and say, you go ahead. And then you hear her actually audibly saying, I'm pulling out, right? She signals exactly what she's doing. She starts to move forward, and everyone should go and watch. The New York Times has about 3.5 minutes of footage coming from every angle. And this is what they brought up to President Trump when they were meeting with him last night, when he said, the officer, the brave officer, and after he tweeted, it's hard to believe that the officer is alive when he walked away completely unscathed. We can see that on video as well. But the footage contradicts the administration on almost every level of what they've said. Renee Good waving the vehicle by. The officer was to the side of the car when he drew the gun. He leaned over the hood for the first shot. You can see that on the angle too. That he fired 2 more shots at arm's length on a 90-degree angle. And it almost doesn't matter, actually, what she was doing, because she didn't have another weapon. According to DOJ policy, which they should be in compliance with, it says deadly force may not be used solely to prevent the escape of a fleeing suspect. Firearms must be discharged at a moving vehicle unless a person is threatening deadly force by other means than the vehicle, and no other means of defense exist, including moving out of the path. He could clearly move out of the path because he did, and that's why he was unscathed in this. I don't know why it wasn't good enough for Secretary Noem or the president or the vice president to say, this is a tragedy. We need to investigate this. And not only do we need to investigate it, we need the FBI to work with local officials on the ground in Minnesota, which apparently they do not want to do. And Governor Walz was talking about that as well. That would have been the responsible thing to do here. And talking as if there is no potential that this officer is at fault with what happened feels like you're getting a little bit ahead of your skis, especially when there is so much footage that contradicts the story that the administration is giving.
So many brilliant key points that contradict the state claim right now. And it's disgraceful. It's really disgraceful what we've seen, where after she's murdered, after this ICE agent takes her life, while they're telling other people to wait to jump to conclusions, not just even what I referenced before of jumping to a conclusion about whether or not it was self-defense, but jumping to the statements smearing her, calling her deranged, domestic terrorist. It's really a quintessential example of horrendous, inhuman leadership. You had Chris Cuomo, who, a lot of times kind of does the like both sides walking on the fence thing. And even he was unequivocal, seemingly, about this in a conversation with Bill O'Reilly.
None of that matters in the legal analysis.
Sure it does.
No, none of that matters in the legal analysis of what happened. It's whether or not the guy had to shoot her in the head to avoid being hurt himself.
Well,
that is the legal question. And then there's the bigger question of why he was even in Minnesota.
Look, I'm going to leave that to the jury or wherever it comes or who investigates, Cuomo, because I wasn't there and I don't know. And if you try to adjudicate it on television, you're irresponsible. You are irresponsible.
You're looking at it. No, I'm not irresponsible. Okay? Bill, you don't like what you see. Are. So you're going to ignore that
no,
and go to the politicians.
You don't like what I'm saying. You don't like what I'm saying because you can't refute it. This is bad decision-making.
You're talking about who lit the fuse. The President of the United States came out after this and gave a completely fallacious description of what happened and said the officer is lucky to be alive. He could have stepped out of the way, Bill. It's not even a close call. He could have. But let it run its course.
And if I were president, I would have done that. I would have done that.
That's why you shouldn't be president. That's why you shouldn't be president.
Okay, fine. The President of the United States is not responsible for this. He's upholding the law. He told everybody he was going to do it, and 77 million people voted for him to do it.
He's responsible to be reasonable.
You go
find me a president who ever spoke like this in a crisis. Find me a president who ever had someone shot and killed by law enforcement and handled it this way. I'll wait. But let me bring in Stephen because he's listening to us ramble on like a couple of dopes. I'm not deflecting. I'm not deflecting.
So I think you get the point. And Bill O'Reilly's kind of doing the thing where he's like, well, you can't have an opinion on it because an investigation hasn't played out. Okay. Well, then can you have an opinion on the fact that Trump had an opinion on it? That he broadcast to everyone with the largest microphone in the world? No, I can't. Why? You just said we shouldn't have. You just said you can't tell because even though there's a bunch of video from a bunch of different angles, an investigation hasn't played out. But the guy at the top of the government proclaimed what the answer was before an investigation played out. Can you at least speak on what you think of him doing that? No, also not. What are you here for then? What is the point of you even being on the show? This is called cowardice. At one of these protests, here's a MAGA extremist screaming and then kind of mocking the fact that Renee Good was killed.
The storm is here. When we come, one, we go all. No one can stop what is coming. Get here, guys. We need you in Minnesota. These people are fucking terrorists.
Patriots, get out here. We need to back up. And all you liberal commie motherfuckers, keep your hands to yourself or you're gonna get hurt today, all right? We executed one of you yesterday.
We executed one of you yesterday, he says. So that is not indicative or even close of everyone who supported Trump. I've personally talked to people who are more right-leaning who are horrified by this and who do want change and who do believe ICE has gone too far time and time again. I also feel rage that they were ever duped or ever decided to fall for Trump's lies, but I do think there's some common humanity. It just is not exactly going to show up online. And that I think you have to be prepared for. And I think in a moment like this, it's important that you prioritize seeking, prioritizing that common humanity with the people in your life to refresh yourself and remind you that it exists. Because I've felt pretty doom and gloom for the last couple of days, just seeing the worst of humanity come out in a lot of different ways. The event, the reaction, the failures of our leaders. And the more we detach from a belief that we can share a common humanity, the more horrible things get. And there does have to be accountability here. Obviously. The concern is that the feds are blocking local officials from investigating and that they're going to investigate their own crimes, which seems psychotic.